Welcome back to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at something a little new. It's going to be brought by Wizkids. It's the D&D Classic Collection. They're going to take a bunch of monsters out of the original monster manual from 1977 and release these pre-painted figures based on the art of the monsters as they appeared in this book. So when I first read about this, I said, oh, that's kind of cool. I think that's a pretty neat idea. And I thought, why those monsters? So I decided to look up those monsters. I thought, well, I'll just take a look at each of the monsters here. So today is not going to be about previewing their actual monster collection, the actual figures, because that's available online. I'll attach a link below. But we're going to take a look at the monsters they chose out of the monster manual. Now, I want to caution right now this is a tentative list. It's supposed to release in the fourth quarter of this year. So it's entirely possible that the list of monsters they've given already are not going to be the same ones that are actually in the final product. That happens with this kind of thing. So be aware that this video is based on their posting on their website at the time of the making of this video and is subject to change. But again, it's supposed to release the fourth quarter of this year, and this video is being made in the third quarter, so I can't be too far out of production. I also want to remind you, subscriptions, yes, everybody who subscribed, thank you very much. The channel continues to grow, but the growth has slowed lately. I don't really know why. I'm hoping it's just back to school. So while you're back to school, take a few minutes, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you have, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Also, please take a look at the Patreon. I'm trying to grow the channel with the electronics and everything else, and I do need some capital for that. So if there's anything you can do, that'd be fantastic. I'm trying to grow both. So that's all for the sales pitch. Today we're back to 1977's excellent monster manual and a look at modern take on an old favorite, except of course we're just going to be looking at the old favorites today on page 121. All right, we're going to start things out with my fine battered copy of the monster manual, and you're going to notice, oh my gosh, there's no bookmarks. You madman, what are you doing? Well, I don't need bookmarks. The first set of D&D figures that's coming out is only A through C. So we're just going to start with the very first one, and we'll go from there. So I'm just going to take a look at each of these monsters and ask myself, why did they choose this particular monster? The first one we're going to take a look at is the ankheg. Well, I understand why they chose this monster. It's a neat-looking little insectoid type thing. Also, it's a versatile monster, and I will tell you what I'm talking about. First off, it has multiple armor classes. The top is AC2, the bottom, the underside is AC4. A lot of these monsters in this book have multiple armor classes. That was an interesting part of original D&D, or not original D&D, but AD&D first edition, was multi-class armor class monsters. I generally did away with that and just took the lower armor class, but not in all cases. If somebody actually bothered to get to the belly of the ankheg, I did give them the benefit of the underside armor class. These guys are very useful because their hit dice are 3 to 8. So this is a rare thing in Advanced Dungeons & Dragons First Edition, where you can have a monster that has multiple layers of hit dice, and you can use them in different encounters at different levels. The ankheg bites with its little mandibles for 3 to 18, plus 1 to 4 points per turn, which is interesting. That's an acid, or it can squirt acid. And it is large, and basically the ankheg burrows through earth like an earthworm, preferring soils rich in minerals and organic matter, usually found in forests and choice agricultural land. This causes farmers great consternation, since the ankheg likes to supplement their earthy diet of soil with a bit of fresh meat, human or otherwise, every once in a while. It doesn't rip meat so much as just crush it, and then dissolves it with its enzymes in its stomach. I did a game a few years ago where one of the player characters' family had been on a farm or owned a farm, and their farm was thriving, and all the farms around them were dying. They were suffering these horrible attacks from ankhegs, and it turned out that the ankhegs were getting their food from the other farms, but living beneath the player character's farm, and thus they were enriching the soil with their waste products and things like that, but they weren't eating things right from the actual farm. So it was kind of a fun game for them to figure out what was going on. They figured it was ankhegs, but they couldn't figure out where the nest was. It took them a little while to figure out it was right beneath their feet. And then we did the epic battle, and all was fun. Now let's go to the next monster. The next guy on our hit parade is a basilisk, or basilisk, depending on how you pronounce it. There's an old Marvel villain, long since no longer with us in the comic books, called Basilisk, or Basilisk, because his real name, get ready, was Basil Elks. Yay! Actually, he was a pretty good villain. I liked him. So the Basilisk, why would they choose him? Well, you've got a neat little 8-legged lizard kind of creature. Armor class 4, 6+1 hit dice. Very dangerous encounter because their gaze turns you to stone. Saving versus petrification sounds like it's not much of anything until you actually have to do it when you're about 4th or 5th level. Basilisk is a very dangerous encounter at lower levels, so I definitely see why they chose this guy. Next up on our list is the Beholder. Oh, what a good monster. This is one of the best monsters in the Monster Manual and has had, on 2nd edition, had whole modules devoted just to it. I can do an entire video based on a Beholder, and I probably will sometime down the line. Beholder is a great encounter, but it's also a great higher level encounter. You don't really want this guy at lower levels. He goes as 45 to 75 hit points with a multi-armor class, again, of 0, 2, or 7. The interesting thing about this guy, he has a bite, just that big mouth, for 2 to 8, but he shoots rays out of his eye stalks and his main eye. And the rays out of the eye stalks have all these different powers: a charm person, a charm monster, a sleep, telekinesis, that'd be 250 pounds, flesh to stone ray, disintegration, fear, as the wand, slow, cause serious wounds, death ray, and then the dreaded 11th eye, that's the central eye, is anti-magic. Excellent monster, very difficult to deal with. However, 2 of my players figured it out some time ago, this game I did back, I think, in the mid-80s, that the anti-magic ray could actually work at their benefit. They were tanks. They had the plate armor, and it was like +1 plate, I think each of them, or +1 or +2, with some plus swords, and they were about 7th or 8th level. Well, they thought, wait a minute, let's just get in the anti-magic ray. We won't lose much, but we'll still have our natural strength. And this was actually the mid-80s. It had to be, because they were also weapon double specialists. So I think they were right around 1870, something like that. So they were +2, +4, and then +3 for their swords. So they were +5, +7 for their total attack. And because of that, they stayed in the anti-magic ray. The other beams from the Beholder couldn't reach them. It was negated by their being bathed in the anti-magic ray, and they were able to just defeat the Beholder through hit points. Actually, I thought it was a brilliant move on their part, and I rewarded a lot of extra experience points for them. The other eyes were still able to shoot at other players in the party, but the Beholder was quickly trying to retreat once it realized what they were doing. By the time it actually turned the eye away from them, or off, it was too late. They'd already gotten it kind of on the ropes. It hit them with a couple of the other eye stalks once the main eye was off, but it was too little too late to save the Beholder. So just a little story from my game on how to deal with Beholders. They're very good encounters. They're also very intelligent. This was one where the players had kind of beaten me a little bit, so I gave it to them. So our next one up, one of my absolute favorite monsters. In fact, these just appeared on my table the other day. Bullette, or bullette, however you want to say it. We call them bullets at my table. And again, multi-armor class. -2, which was huge in the earliest days of AD&D. 4 and 6. And they are big creatures, and they like to eat horses. The bullette, or land shark, is thought to be extinct. It's supposed to be a result of a mad wizard's experimental crossbreeding of a snapping turtle and armadillo with infusions of demon's ichor. And they basically they hunt through the ground. They have a little dorsal fin that sticks up through the ground, and they actually cut through the ground like a shark through the water, and you can see the dorsal fin sticking up, thus giving them the appellation of land shark. Keep in mind, this book was written in 1977. Jaws was in 1975. Saturday Night Live had their land shark knocking on doors and ringing doorbells and saying "Candygram," and then the shark would eat the person that answered the door. That was the land shark. That's what this guy's a little bit of a spoof on. So there's a little ancient AD&D history for you. The bullette are excellent, especially if your party they've gone far afield and they're on horseback. The bullette can just come up and basically wipe out the horses. And now you've suddenly got the entire group on foot. They can also do a lot of damage to the party. They have 3 attacks in a round, 4 to 48, 3 to 18, and 3 to 18. Incredibly formidable for AD&D First Edition. So let's go. We're only going to go to the next page for our next little buddy. This one's a favorite of mine. I've used this one a million times. Good lower level dungeon crawl type monster, the carrion crawler. Again, multiple armor classes of 3 or 7. 3+1 hit dice makes him formidable for a low-level party, but what really gets it is 8 attacks, and all they do is paralyze. When he hits something, every hit, you have to make a saving throw or be paralyzed. Once you're paralyzed, he slowly eats you. Or they can deposit eggs in you. Either one's good. It's a dangerous monster. Do not underestimate its ability to do a total party kill, even if the party is at 3rd or 4th level. It's hitting as a 3 hit dice monster, and every hit forces a paralysis save. It can wipe out entire parties. Also a nice looking insectoid type creature. So now we're going to go to our next monster, which is another one that's seen my table a lot. That was one thing that struck me when I read the list of all the monsters that they were going to be doing. These are constants at my table. There's only one here that hasn't seen a ton of action at my table, and I'll explain that when I get to it. But now we go to the chimera. Chimera, armor class again, 6, 5, or 2. 9 hit dice, formidable. 6 attacks, 1 to 3, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 4, 2 to 8, 3 to 12, with a breath weapon. It has a goat's head, a lion's head, and a red dragon's head. I've done multiple mixes where I've done chimeras with different types of heads, and I know that's not original to me. Just like with the Beholder, I've done different beam powers out of the Beholder's eye. I've changed those powers around. Again, that's not original to me. That's just something that a lot of people have thought to do. You can do the same thing with the chimera, especially when the party kind of gets used to, they have to go over and attack from the goat side and stay away from the dragon head and that kind of thing. The dragon's breath is 50-foot reach and causes 3 to 24 points of damage with a save for half. So pretty neat, and most of these monsters have descriptions of what they look like too, which makes me wonder if that's some of the reason they were chosen. The next monster, the cockatrice. This guy seems like a friendly little huggable guy, and he doesn't seem that formidable. Armor class 6, 5 hit dice. Attack is 1 for 1 to 3 points of damage. Big deal, who cares? Oh, wait, touch turns to stone. Yep, you got to save versus petrification with this guy too, or be turned to stone. I had a player years ago in a dungeon where he was turned to stone by a cockatrice, and the other players, because there were other things in the area and they had to flee, that was an ongoing thing in my campaign for about 2 actual years, where the guy who played that character who was turned to stone was playing a different character who had known him, and they were trying to get back into the dungeon to turn him from stone back to flesh. To do that, they had to defeat the cockatrice and the little spawn the cockatrice had by that time. By that time, they were a little bit higher level. They knew more about the cockatrice. They had some bow specialization in the group by that time. They were able to take out the cockatrice and get the guy turned back to flesh. So good use of him here. And here's the only one I've only used a couple of times in my game, the couatl. There's a few reasons why this guy's only appeared in my game a few times. And he's only got 1 armor class of 5, 9 hit dice, formidable for original AD&D. 2 attacks, 1 to 3, 2 to 8, and one of them is the bite is poisonous. I believe it's the bite. They use both poisonous bite, save or die, and constriction. Save or die, again, is not to be underestimated. But he's lawful good. Lawful good doesn't get a lot of opposition at my table because generally everybody's neutral or good. I have some. I've run entire evil campaigns, and I've had some evil here and there. But that's one of the reasons couatl have not been on my table a ton. However, I did use them in a game a few years ago where the group was aboard ship. It was part of my Sundi campaign. They were aboard ship going from Sundi to eventually Greyhawk City. And they met a mated pair of couatl, and they were helping the couatl in their struggle against the Dread Pirate Roberts from the film The Princess Bride. Yes, I have that. That's in my Greyhawk. It's a franchise deal, just like in the film. And I had a lot of fun with the Dread Pirate Roberts. The couatl also have magic use abilities, which they are listed here as magic user, as 5th level, and or 7th level cleric, and that gives percentages. 45% for magic user, 35% for cleric, or 20% for both. So they can be formidable. They also have psionics, but no psionics in my game. So what I usually will do is let them have both magic user and cleric in order to justify to strengthen them up a little bit for 9th level. The mated pair were a lot of fun. They were lawful good, and they helped the good aligned party in their goal. And I had a lot of fun with that group. And they're still around in my Greyhawk campaign. They just haven't been encountered in a little while. So there you have it. A quick look at the monsters that they've chosen for the classic D&D Classic Monster Collection. This is A through C that they'll be releasing. It's supposed to come out in 2nd or 4th quarter of 2022. And again, the lineup is subject to change. Right now, these 8 monsters are what's listed, and it looks pretty likely that these will be the 8 that are in there. Again, I'm going to have a link in the description below if you want to go take a look at it. I don't work for Wizkids. I don't work for WotC. I just thought this was a cool idea. 5th edition meets 1st edition. I'm all for it. Anything that kind of revitalizes 1st edition. Plus, the box is set up to look just like the Monster Manual covers, which is among some of my favorite artwork in D&D. So it's a winner for me all the way around. I am going to take a look at it. If I do end up picking it up, I'll show it on the channel. I haven't decided yet, but I'll have the link below, so you can take a look at it and decide for yourself. I want to thank you for watching. Again, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. If you know somebody who's watched me a time or two or might want to, have them subscribe. Let's grow the channel. And again, I have a Patreon. If you can take a look at that, if it's something that you can help out with, that'd be fantastic. Well, that's it for today from page 121. I want to thank you for your time, and I'll see you next time.